people destabilizing Nigeria is Tinubu and his people. Akpabio, Oshiomhole, Wike, IG of police, all of them. The IG that is supposed to have retired, that they did not allow to leave his job. But if you think about it, how can other policemen who are supposed to become IG, how can they become IG?
Statement saying that President Tinubu is a fake Democrat, he wants to return and become president for life. No, it's a very mischievous, devilish political strategy. You know.
Let's look at Lagos. As Tinubu left the reins of power in over 20 years in Lagos, is he not the one still ruling the affairs of Lagos politics? Why? You see, Nigerians, we know how to deceive ourselves. A man that has shown you how he's going to do it with a playbook in Lagos. He got into Lagos from 1999 to 2007. After that, everybody that has been governor has been at his beck and call. See the way he treated Governor Sanwo-Olu the other day. Taking National Assembly members, bringing them to Abuja, House of Assembly members. See the way he brought back, what's he called? What's his name? The former speaker. Obasa.
Speaker Obasa.
See the way he dismissed the first lady speaker. You were saying women and speaker. First women speaker, you were speaking. I said they were going to bring back Obasa. You didn't believe me. I told you I got from myself they were going to bring it back. You didn't believe it. What ended her journey? It's not Oreni she was singing. Oreni. So a man that has done it in Lagos successfully. Why are Nigerians are very hypocritical? That's the problem.
Nigeria is not Lagos.
Oh.
Nigeria is not Lagos.
But it is from Lagos that they build the political base to birth Nigeria. It is from Lagos that the bread is buttered. Without Lagos, they will not get to Nigeria. Lagos is not Nigeria, but Lagos are one of the biggest GDP dispositions in this country. Tell me another state that makes more money than Lagos. Tell me another state in the country that has more resources than Lagos, that does more IGR than Lagos. He did it successfully in Lagos. Mark my words, he's set to do it again if Nigerians don't stand up. It is you that will have to stand up and ensure that your voices are heard. He has done it successfully for over 20 years in Lagos. He's doing it to the extent now. Are you not hearing some names close to him that want to be governor in Lagos? Are people not going to lobby to him to pick the next governor in Lagos? So why are we being hypocritical and we are dally-dallying and dally-dallying? Ike and my brother, I give you the 30 seconds, Jerry. Wrap up.
Okay,
Nasir Rufai is not in a position to give an empirical evidence that does not exist.
It's fine.
So we the people, we own this democracy. That's why the first line in the Nigerian constitution says, we the people. Nigeria is not Zimbabwe. It's not Rwanda. It's not Chad.
Dr. Abati. The same thing you are saying is what Lagos people have been saying in 1999. We the Lagosians, we own Lagos, we own the democracy.
Dr. Abati, talk about Chad.
He's intelligent. After all, he has a first class. So he has also developed himself for that by going to school. He knows that if you say that inside Nigeria, that one Yoruba man, where is Tinubu from now? From Lagos.
From Lagos State.
Wants to be president for life. How does he want that to resonate in the northern part of Nigeria? How would that resonate in the south of Nigeria? How will that resonate in southeast? That a Yoruba man will come and impose a monarchy on Nigeria. They may do it in Zimbabwe, where Nigeria wife comes from. They may do it in Rwanda. They may be toying with it in Cameroon. They may do it in Chad. But in this country, given the complications that we have, ethnic and religious, that will be very difficult. But mischievous Nasir Rufai will throw it into the equation to create more problems for the Tinubu administration. However, President Tinubu's spokesperson, Mr. Ononuga, he spoke well by saying that Rufai is having hallucinations. And I think it's surprising that it is Rufai who understands what democracy is all about, that will be the one saying they want to do presidency for life in Nigeria, in this country. In fact, all of us will carry placards. But it's good that President Tinubu has been described as a Democrat, as a man who will not try that kind of gambit that they are trying in other African countries. Because civil society will rebel. Everybody will rebel. The media will rebel. The fact that it happens in other countries does not mean that it will happen here. Tinubu is even looking for a second term in 2027. So he will jump from 2027. He will say he wants to be president for life. Even you too, you will carry placard. Even the twins will join you. I say, no, this is not our country. Not here.
Well, strengthening democracy, I think they would, I don't know if I would encourage them at this point to carry placards. Let them please rest. Nigeria's issues, they have it. But we're hoping and looking to building a stronger nation.
Is there a proof that Tinubu wants to be president for life? I don't think we can know that until after the 2027 elections. I think Tinubu now wants to win in 2027. So after 2027, we'll watch how he behaves. But Nasir Rufai receiving Waziri Adamawa, what do you expect them to say in a meeting? Of course, they will cook up a conspiracy against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But do you, as the main watcher of politics, have you seen from body language or behavior that President Tinubu wants to be president for life?
The first point here is that not so many Nigerians, people within the international community actually believe former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Because, some of the things that led up to that event that happened, that culminated on May 16, 2006, being defeated at the floor of the Senate chaired by then Senate President Kenny Namani, showed that there was a deliberate attempt, actually, at trying to see how Obasanjo could actually get a sort of tenure elongation. So let's just assume we're not going to use this word third time. Some sort of tenure elongation based on what had been happening within the polity and then the trust that a whole lot of Nigerians and people within the international community had in Obasanjo. And then they believed that Obasanjo performed more within 2003 and 2007. And so most of the reforms that happened within this period. And then the time for him to exit was now looking too short. And so I don't know if you remember a group called Corporate Nigeria, which was chaired by Ndidi Okereke-Onyewuke, former Director General of the Nigerian Nigerian Stock Exchange, as it was then called, where they actually, a whole lot of business leaders and all of that, and some of the people that Obasanjo had empowered, came together to actually get some funds to put together and drive some sort of agenda. And then there were talks here and there that there was a meeting that was held at Aso Rock then among the presidential aides, where it was said that this agenda was laid on the table, but many people within the aides rejected and cautioned against it. And of course, there were talks here and there that Atiku Abubakar, as former vice president, used his network to actually work with Kenny Namani and others to defeat this agenda. That political reform conference that you talked about, there were lots of talks here and then by then Deputy Senate President Ibrahim Mantu that, they were actually leading this move for a third time to be introduced. And so the Nigerian media was there. We watched it. We saw a whole lot of things. So when Obasanjo says all of this, it will sound very unbelievable and many people wouldn't want to believe him. Yes, he may not have direct proof, but of course, there were proxies who went to actually canvass for that time, saying that Obasanjo was the father of modern Nigeria and there's no one who could actually make Nigeria much more greater and better and having a nationalist president than Obasanjo. And they are very true and correct. Up till date, there's no Nigerian president that has been as great as Obasanjo, right from the military to now. And that's why you would have seen what Reno Omokri also wrote about him, saying that, when it comes to the issues of patriotism, waking up to Nigeria every day and finding out if the governance is going right or wrong, former President Obasanjo is one patriot leader that we know that still stands for the country. But these issues of third term, it's something that will always go down way to the grave with him. But the reality is that that talk of a third term was real. And if you look at what Aisha Osori and Professor Chidi Odinkalu has said, that there was even a withdrawal of about $500 million from the excess crude account. And then, of course, juxtapose it with the funding from the corporate Nigeria. A whole lot of things happened. So former President Olusegun Obasanjo should just, keep the issues of evidence aside. And then we'll now go on to the issues.
Sambo, President Obasanjo is saying, if there's anybody alive today that said he discussed third term or tenure elongation, as you insist with him, that person should come out and say so. So he has thrown out a challenge in that regard. As for the proxies, the contractors, I just complained about all these consultants looking out for their own stomachs. I think that's the challenge that we should address. But Nasir Rufai saying Tinubu wants presidency for life. Where is his evidence?
Yes, when you talk of that, definitely, you see it's just a political contraption being put in place by ATIKU and RUFAI trying to say that, Tinubu has all of this. But, you see, these are political games that the elites usually play. And all of these people are friends, political friends who are just trying to play on the intellect of Nigerians. What I'm saying here is that RUFAI and Atiku Abubakar are suffering from the same thing that Tinubu actually suffered from this set of people. Because in 2003 to 2007, don't forget, RUFAI was FCT minister, Atiku Abubakar was vice president, and Tinubu was facing the heat from the Obasanjo-led administration then, and he was being, pushed here and there. So here we are 20 years on. Tinubu is president, RUFAI is in opposition, Atiku is in opposition, and Tinubu is trying to pay them back. So my suspicion is that it is what is happening at the National Assembly that's making RUFAI to feel this way. That the National Assembly under President Bola Tinubu seems to have been totally hijacked And everybody seems to be kowtowing to what President Tinubu wants. And so from their own thinking, if the National Assembly doesn't seem to be standing on behalf of the people, and it's looking like an extension of the executive branch of government, then of course President Tinubu has a further ambition. But President Tinubu is entitled to a second term, and he's not in a second term that will start, saying all of this. So I just want to say that Nigerians should be very careful of some of the things that they hear from the opposition, because we don't have enough proof.
I want to.
But my suspicion is that it is coming from this angle, actually.
Let's get deeper into some of those allegations, Sumner, because he went further to say that NADECO was fake. Everything that President Tinubu did for NADECO and, as he posed to be a Democrat was fake in that statement. He spoke very strongly. And then he also spoke about political thuggery. So he's saying that, if the political thuggery that he's experiencing continues, then there's only one direction we're going in. My question to you is, if you look at the ingredients that are available currently, on the ground in the political climb, especially compare them to an era where reportedly, or shall I say allegedly, former President Olusegun Obasanjo is said to have, if based on reports, he's said to have had the power, if he wanted to possibly have been able to manipulate the system for a third term. If we're to put everything in context, right? Let's now move that conversation to where we are now, given the ingredients and the climate. If somebody decided to behave in an undemocratic way, are the ingredients for the recipe all available for such a person to behave in that way?
Vimba, very good question there. I mean, all the ingredients are actually there. I mean, talk about the National Assembly. What President Tinubu and his APC could not get through the ballots, they've gotten through, the manipulation of the system. That's why you see that the APC has got close to two-thirds, if not, going to be more than two-thirds when the National Assembly resumes plenary. Talk about having about 73 senators. The APC didn't get that during the election. But through one subterfuge or, dropping of one thing or the other, a whole lot of people have been able to move into the APC, giving it a very huge majority. In the House of Reps, the same thing. You're going to have over 240 House of Representative members and all of that going to the APC. Now, if President Tinubu does want to do that in his next term, assuming he wins in 2027, the ingredients are right there. And I can tell you that we need to be on the watch to watch our democracy to ensure that elected personalities do not get into government and they push the people aside. There are reasons why we have checks and balances. There are reasons why political parties should continue to maintain their colors, especially in the National Assembly when they get elected. But I can tell you that President Tinubu knows the consequence too. He can't try that, because when former President Olusegun Obasanjo, in one way or the other, through his body language, had this idea coming up, a whole lot of people rose up. The media was against it, the CSOs and all of that. Yes, it may look like the media and the CSOs are weakened under our current democratic practice, but nonetheless, I can tell you that the Nigerian people will not allow that to happen. But yes, those opportunities are there. And most times, Nigerian leaders always feel that when they get into their second term, it's too short. And that's why we keep saying, once you get into power, start your reforms on time. President Obasanjo, Tinubu at the moment hasn't done his restructuring reforms. And that's why a whole lot of people may be suspecting that if he does get into second term, he will want to do those reforms that may tilt towards the third term.
Sumner, in your honest of hearts, with this National Assembly that you know, if a bill for tenure elongation is given to this National Assembly that you know, can you, in your honest of heart, beat your chest that this National Assembly will reject it? Why do we deceive ourselves so much in this country? You can say RUFAI is talking theatrics because it's in the opposition. But as a Rivers State taught all of us a lesson where they constituted an aberration and the courts did not hear that case of a declaration of a state of emergency because there was a political impasse between Wike'S and his godson. So if that could happen, and even while the president was trying to explain himself, that's why I said, we explain, tire, because we know the truth. Wike'S came on TV and said if he wanted to extend state of emergency, he will extend it. So people that can give state of emergency, who says that they can't get a tenure elongation if they want? Let's put the facts on the table and analyze it. Sumner, I don't know your reaction to this. My question to you is, in your honest of hearts, with this National Assembly, do you think if they bring a tenure elongation, this National Assembly will say no to anything that involves President Tinubu? In your honest of hearts, Sumner?
I'll be very frank with you that the National Assembly, as it's... Yes,
Go ahead.
Here actually.
Yeah.
I'll be very frank with you. I mean, if such a bill does get to the chambers of the Senate or House of Representatives, it may want to scale through because the APC will use its majority to actually ensure that the president gets what he wants. But I can tell you that by then it will be a different ballgame because the media and the civil society wouldn't want that to happen, and the National Assembly members are accountable to their representatives, to their constituents. So it will be a situation whereby it will be the people, the CSOs, and the media against the National Assembly. There's a tendency that people in the National Assembly may want to pursue such an agenda, but I can tell you that with pressure from both the media, the civil society, and the people themselves, that wouldn't happen. And I don't see President Tinubu wanting to do that because he knows the consequences of doing that. And that's why we keep saying that if we have a National Assembly that have different colors of political parties, it is better for everybody because we cannot all be thinking the same way in democracy. And that's why we have a multi-party democracy. You see, no matter how you would hate former President Buhari about it, he always canvassed for a multi-party democracy to be given an opportunity because he knows what happened while he was in opposition. And I think that this is the time to call on President Tinubu to actually do the reforms that he talked about while he was in the opposition. The issues of INEC chairman, the next INEC chairman, like I keep saying every time I come here, Nigerians must not leave that system to the executive alone. Let's have an idea on who the next INEC chairman is. We should have enough time to debate the good and the bad aspect of the person. Okay. And then, of course, let's look at other reforms, the issues of restructuring. Why has President Tinubu and his APC not do all the restructuring that they promised? The RUFAI committee that was set up by the APC and all the reforms that they proposed, it hasn't been done. So maybe these are the sum total of the things that are making RUFAI, ATIKU, and all others saying that.
Thank you very much.
It's clear that we're pointing towards
if they will give me the job,
one-party system.
If they will give me the job, I would like to be the next INEC chairman and help them to run elections. But would they consider me? No, so many political issues on the table, including
in 2024. The oil sector contributed 4.05% to GDP in Q2 of 2025, slightly higher than the 3.97% contribution recorded in the previous quarter. All right, Dr. Abati, a number of things this morning, politics and the economy. Of course, the first part, this talk by RUFAI that's been making waves, and now the presidency has reacted. And then, of course, football has gone to pay homage to the president to say thank you for the suspension and thank you for the reinstatement. Your take on these stories, including the economy?
Okay, let's start with the economy. Now, the National Bureau of Statistics is telling us that GDP growth in the second quarter of 2025 is about 4.23%. And that we have seen a rebound in the oil sector, contributing, about 4.05% to GDP growth. Now, the non-oil sector, what our non-oil sector contributed is 3.64%. What we must warn against is the National Bureau of Statistics consistently playing politics with statistics, to use statistics to make the government of Nigeria look good. Now, the non-oil sector that they are talking about, 3.64%, they rounded it up to 4%. So they contradict themselves when they are playing games with these figures. The truth of the matter is that the growth in that non-oil sector is in telecommunications, it's in services, this domestic delivery service. It's okay, they added real estate to it. In other words, what we have is that you have an informal sector, an invisible sector, mostly, that you cannot really measure. But when they do their measurement politically, they come forward and they tell you, oh, non-oil sector is doing very well. Against the background of the fact that the position in this country has always been how to diversify the economy, how to see that things are working within the economy. But agriculture, as in the same period that they are calculating, 2.82% growth. Now, we keep arguing that agriculture is a mainstay of this economy. Farmers in the food basket of the country cannot go to farm. The value chain within the agricultural sector is not working. They are talking about shea butter. They have said, oh, we will ban shea butter exports for 6 months. Where is the structure in place for consolidating, ensuring, value chain with shea butter? So these are the contradictions that we find out. I think that the present end of the National Bureau of Statistics thinks that, he will survive for as long as he wants if he keeps using statistics to promote politics. I think we need to do a lot more in terms of agriculture. And we also need to do a lot more and focus a lot more on the omissions in terms of how this economy is structured. Agriculture in particular. 2.82% growth within the quarter. Now, that's nothing to celebrate. They are talking about rebasing. They are playing Ludo with statistics. No. Now, for this economy, for us to be in a position where we can begin to say, oh, a lot is happening, What Nigerians are looking for, what the experts, the Bismarck Rewanis, the Muda Yusufs, the Johnson Chukwus of this country, what I hear them saying, the Bongo Adis of this country, is that, look, for us to begin to beat our chest in terms of the economy, we need double-digit growth, not the 3% that the World Bank says is our best expectation, but a double-digit growth that shows that this is an economy that is on the foundation of productivity and that there is more that Nigerians can look at. That is that about that. I don't think MBS, giving political figures is something that we should delay ourselves with unnecessarily. Statistics should be factual. It's not about politics. It's not about making government look good. Now, the second point is about Governor Sim Fubara, who has now shown up and who has gone to Aso Rock to thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He was putting perfume on the situation, saying, the situation in Rivers State was this and that, and then President Bola Ahmed Tinubu tried to save the situation, and he had come to say thank you. Now he is committed to peace. What kind of civil servant talk is that? Okay, I would say I'm not disappointed. Who is Fubara? He rose as a civil servant, became accountant general. So he went to Aso Rock to behave characteristically as an obedient servant, as your lordship pleases. No, there's a lot that we do not know about this matter, because Fubara shows that, the typical civil servant that he is. He goes this way, he goes that way. When the master says this is what you should do, he goes in that direction. He cannot play politics, which he doesn't even understand, with the future of the people of Rivers State. The only points that he has made that I think will seem important to me will be, okay, his point that we are committed to peace, we are committed to unity and all of that. There is perhaps a lot more that we do not know. He has pledged allegiance to Tinubu. He has pledged allegiance to Nyesom Wike, the godfather. I hope that we will not come up one day on this same subject and discover that he is using River State money to settle the spirits that are trying to control River State. We hope that we will not end up one day and discover that you have an Oyo State Adedibu situation in River State where the godfather says, I put you there, this is what I must collect on a monthly basis. So there is a lot that is not yet out there. But I think that the future of River State that he talks about, what next that we talk about, will reveal the underbelly of this elite manipulation of the politics and of the democracy in River State. So
let me start with River State. And in talking about River State, I think it's interesting, just a few things around that. Governor Fubara is saying that he's gone to Aso Rock to pay a courtesy visit to the president to thank him for the role he played in the last 6 months in restoring peace to River State. And I look at the speech he made on assumption of office, or resumption of office, that he was in pursuit of peace. And so he's a man of peace. He should possibly be going for the Nobel Peace Prize at this point, because all he keeps talking about is peace, peace, peace. But I then ask the question, at what expense? Peace at the expense of democracy? Peace at the expense of the people that he was elected, or at least I have entrusted their votes in him? Peace at the expense of democracy and strengthening institutions? These are some of the questions I have. I'm happy that finally River State can begin to enjoy the dividends of democracy through governance, through proper governance. He did mention in that speech that his achievements in the last 2 years in education infrastructure speak for themselves. And I think that's quite interesting, because what we've been calling on, and a number of guests we've had from that region have talked about, is the fact that they have just played politics in River State in the last 2 years, and they've not been able to enjoy good governance as a result of the political fight, if I can put it that way, between Governor Fubara and his predecessor, Governor Wike. Well, at least the good news coming from that state is perhaps we will begin to see some form of stability and peace in the state. He's gone to say thank you to President Tinubu. He has talked about a relationship, and I think this further deepens my argument about the fact that PDP should begin to say goodbye to their governor in River State, because it looks very likely that he would align himself with a man he's referred to as his father, a father-son relationship, with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But again, we've set the tone for him. He said he's now ready to face, work, and we look forward to that happening finally in River State. I do say so. I do still maintain that what's happening in the state is quite unfortunate and should not be encouraged if we are going to build a solid democracy, a fruitful democracy in Nigeria. or we move on, as we often do in Nigeria with matters such as this. Now, let me talk about democracy, because that's why it started with River State. The big question that has been talked about over the weekend and into yesterday and today is the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been accused by former governor of Kaduna State, RUFAI, that he's a fake Democrat, that he's just pretending. And, you know, some people might say that they worked quite closely in the last administration, even in the, you know, in his campaign. So perhaps former Governor RUFAI knows what he's talking about. He's been able to work very closely with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, let's not take his word. Let's look at the symptoms. When you look at the symptoms of a failing democracy under this administration, let us juxtapose that side by side. First is weakening of checks and balances, whereby the centralized power, and there is a subjugation of institutions such as the judiciary, institutions like the civil service, legislature, and your guess is as good as mine if you look at this under this administration, how well or how independent these institutions have been under the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. The judiciary, all eyes on the judiciary was the theme of the day during the last elections. We've looked at how in many parts we talk about the Supreme Court's role in the River State situation and how the matter wasn't heard in 6 months when it was suspended. Beyond that is the erosion of the rule of law as a symptom of a failing democracy. We also look at the suppression of civil liberties. A number of people have criticized, including the Foreign Mission, criticized the Cyber Crimes Prevention Prohibition Act as amended of 2024, and how there's some words in there that are quite vague and might threaten free speech and the freedom of the press under this administration. And so when we talk about a true Democrat, it's not enough to just talk about it and say, yes, I believe in the tenet of democracy, but under your administration, democracy hasn't been as threatened as it is. Some people have also argued that during the administration of the last time we heard of an extension of a presidential tenure under the President Olusegun Obasanjo tenure, what stood strong for the Nigerian people was the strength of the legislature. Who kicked against this? Well, in this legislature where when the president comes into parliament or into the National Assembly, they're singing, on your mandate we shall stand. How will they be able to fully check and balance if in the event he presents a bill of that nature to the House? Now, to the National Assembly. I'm saying this because we must look at these symptoms to decide for ourselves whether or not what is being practiced or what is thriving under this administration is true democracy. What we expect from a true Democrat is more than ever in Nigeria. We should experience democracy in its finest. Unfortunately, some people might argue against that, and I believe that it's a time for reflection as to what legacy he'd like to leave, especially as all through the years in his time in politics, he has been touted as a true Democrat. What he might start by doing is to ensure that INEC is truly independent and you give the people a free and fair election such that the will of the people reigns supreme. That is what democracy is about. In school, we learned it's government by the people, for the people, and with the people. So it's very important that these things are looked into, and when this alarm is sounded, that we look deep into the issues and see how we can truly restore true democracy in Nigeria. At this point, let me bring you in, RUFAI. Good to see you this morning. I'm sure I don't know if you heard the stories that we're discussing today. We're looking at the presidency responding to RUFAI saying that he's not a true Democrat, the president not being a true Democrat. Fubara going to pay homage to the president, say thank you, and of course the state of the economy.
Okay, state of the economy, over 4% GDP growth, 4.23% growth. Yes, at first, I would say, yes, kudos. But also, let's not forget that we're rebased. So we are comparing apples and oranges. The parameters of the base year are different. The parameters of the economy are different in comparison. Probably a year from now, when we see the exit numbers, after we've calibrated for 1 full year, after the initial base year comparison, then we can make an empirical analysis. But for those that want kudos, kudos. Or, like my brother and my very good friend would say, kundus to all. Dr. Abati and I heard both of your commentaries on point. But you brought 2 stories. A beaten and bullied Fubara went to say, yes, sir. Happy with the situation. No, wait now. Somebody that's been beaten and bullied will tell you he's happy. A beaten and bullied Fubara went to say, yes, sir, to the man that was using beating and bullying him, after suspending him for 6 months because of a fight with his political godfather. And Mr. Bayo Onanuga is reacting and saying President Tinubu is a Democrat. That the fears of he's going to do more than 2031 is going to have a third time is not genuine.
Okay, Wike has finally destroyed himself. Big mouth and big trouble for him. The US government will arrest him and detain him. The man always told biggie, like $2 billion. Okay. I love the father, Dr. Abati. Are you sure you are not the one in this particular reluctant? What happened in Rivers? What did the people do to stop Jim? Who are they? We the people. When the reason why they keep quiet, because if they talk, Wike will expose them. That is why they all keep quiet. Politicians, leave them with their wayo. It is na seko. It's all about seko. Yes, take a look at this school. After you pay a lot of money in the name of boarding school, look at the food they feed children. No protein, no nutrient, nothing. Empty food. Like their parents paid huge amount of money. See what they are eating in the country that we are, and they collect. See, goodness God. People think that nothing will happen to Wike because he is untouchable. Wike is under the protection of Tinubu APC government. Only thief knows how to protect thieves. Wike might survive this family Florida, or Florida property scandal. He go survive now before uncle. Okay, you know, go survive him. He go survive him. Nobody can stop him to become life president. Who are we to carry placard that he will not order killing of the citizen? Check out answers now. My brother, instead of may we go by untimely, may we leave sister for sister, may we use our hand walk. Dr. Abati. Okay, I've said that one. Yeah, nobody can stop that one. It's always happening. This person say, for that plan, that is the reason we must stop him from now, never to be for 2027 again. What tell you? Wike has finally what tell you say you can stop? You cannot. See this food now. See Nigeria situation with the amount of money they collect for school. See and yeah, no nutrient. Even the people that are eating that food, you see as in look. No wahala. Let the good deed start from you. Let it start from me. Let it start from you. Okay. If they are doing like this, how the country could take them better? Tell me. Wike, as in it's a heavy knock. Wike, Sowore, and is it Deji Adeyanju? Three of them become as in the kind of the kind of way Sowore they are attacking them. They are attacking them. Even Wike cannot drink water drop cup. Deji Adeyanju cannot drink water drop cup because Sowore they hold them like a slap of finger like this. Anyways, you watch the rest of the video and you know it by yourself. Please, guys, audience, do not forget to like, share, subscribe, turn on your post notification bell, and then I would love to see you in my next video. Peace and love always. Mwah.
He was questioning some amounts of money that, you know, were linked to Wike. Let me just read out what Sowore wrote here. Sowore said, watch, a must watch. Back in 2010, while representing Sahara reporter at the Package River State Investment Forum at Columbia University in New York, I confronted the then deputy governor of River State, ATIKU, about the massive corruption being carried out by Nyesom Wike, who was serving as then Governor Mechi's chief of staff at the time. Instead of addressing the fact, ATIKU leaped to Governor Wike's defense, dismissing Sahara reporters as nothing more than part of a clique hunting River State political thieves. Yet the truth was already evident. Nyesom Wike had been arrested by the EFCC. Yes, the EFCC that today is blind to massive corruption and money laundering by Wike, but with the help of the compromised judiciary at the Court of Appeal in a deal arranged by the governor of Bayelsa, he escaped accountability. So Sowore is saying that Wike no be today when it comes to all this corruption, that even in 2010 he tried investigating a case about Wike that has to do with corruption, and with the help of the judiciary, Wike could not be held accountable. So guys, this is why when you say corruption, you can't really fight it here in Nigeria, because guess what? All these politicians, when Wike say he's building houses for judges, do you think it is for free? This is just what they do to buy the minds of these people, because people are saying, let the judiciary be independent. Why build houses for judges? Why buy them cars? Just include in their budget, allow them to run their office the way it's supposed to be run. But guess what? The Nigerian politicians will prefer to go go borrow money from World Bank, use it to buy houses, you know, build houses and buy vehicles and give them to the appeal courts judges and also Supreme Court judges. So guys, these are the things we are saying about leadership in this country. Now, let me take you through some of these reactions. This person said, you guys see why I said Sowore needs to be in National Assembly. Ogba Lore, okay, he spoke Yoruba. We need such a person there, not these belleful, breast-chasing, sleeping obukons. And this other person say a lot of corruption allegation against one man, but yet still the government is silent, telling the government is silent, telling of a corrupt government in power. Okay, yeah, the government is silent. That shows they are corrupt. And then this other person said, your 2010 confrontation with ATIKU at Columbia University over years of wicked corruption allegation is a stark reminder of Nigeria's ongoing battle with impunity. From an EFCC arrest to now serving as FCT minister, Wike'S rise exemplifies how the system protects the powerful. Hey, this is also powerful, honestly. And then this other person said that the sad part is Nigeria has a way of rewarding the very people that it should be prosecuting. Wike'S story isn't unique. It's the same cycle of corruption, protection, and promotion. Until the system stops shielding thieves, we keep recycling monsters in power. That is what this person is saying. And another person here, okay. This one says, if I demand 20 billion every month, it's politics. Wike'S justifies fights with Fubara. So you can see that no be today the thing start. It's been a very long journey. I mean, it's been a very long journey. So I don't know what you make of all this, you know. I don't know what you make of what is happening in Nigeria. Let me know your honest reaction, because there were a lot of reactions here that I would have loved to take, but I'm like, let me stop it there. Let me see if I can read more of this. This one says, ATIKU absolutely exposed Sahara reporter and Sowore. Everything he said is true. They have been doing government propaganda and hack chat job for many years and still doing it till now. Okay, this person is supporting Wike'S. Another person say, and he was rewarded with the minister of FCT after he overturned the will of the people to APC. Only Nigeria that such mess happen. How then can Nigeria work when the leaders are corrupt with no one being held accountable? Nigerians have to start voting competence, not try. Nigerians are trying, but we have people who so much believe in all this tribalism and religious whatever, and that is why we always get it wrong. But in the last election, we saw that Nigerians actually wanted to change the trajectory. People came out, voted massively for Peter Obi, and when they saw that Obi was winning, they decided to switch the IREF and told us they had a glitch. Till today, we don't know where that glitch came from. So guys, that is to tell you the level of corruption. Do not give up. We are working towards a better Nigeria, and that better Nigeria will come soon. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. Thank you.